Yeah, got us recording, so I want to make sure we get this down. Yeah. So you grew up in Athens. You're just a stone's throw from Canton.
Oh yeah, man. We used to do First Mondays, man. My mom was a big fan, so I spent a lot of time in Canton for First Monday.
Yeah. You played football back in the day, right?
We did, sure. We played Canton. We played all the local. You know, it's funny because playing football in Texas, you don't realize how big playing football in Texas is until you get out of Texas. And the cheerleaders used to go down the road, and every mile, I swear, they had a banner or they had one of the football players' names. And when I talk about that, we go on trips 120 miles. We've got all the 120 banners, and like I'd be in someplace like Iowa, and they're like, "You what?"
Yeah. I was just explaining this earlier this morning to someone who lives in Connecticut.
Right. And when you grow up in stuff like that, you take it for granted. You don't realize that. You don't realize that football is religion in Texas until you get out and realize nobody's got religion.
Well, that's a whole other show.
Right.
Anyway, hey, this is John Butler on the B, and my guest is Christian Stokes, a local East Texas boy who made good. He's out
born and raised
in Athens, Texas. You're spending most of your time in LA these days?
Well, I bounce around. Right now, my base of operations is in New Orleans, but I spread out between Texas, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. So,
well, let me explain, because I want to get into your background a little bit, and then what you're doing and what you're going to be doing. But Christian is one of these guys that you've seen in numerous movies and TV shows, even though you may not have known you were seeing him. Because you do a lot of stunts, right? Stunt double.
I have this interesting niche. I went to school, obviously growing up in Athens, Texas, this kind of thing isn't on your menu. And so I wanted to be an actor. I discovered acting along the way. And I'm like, wow, I kind of enjoy this. And so I eventually went to school to be an actor, get out of the training, and I start working as an actor in a stunt show, right? And so I didn't realize it was a thing. So I actually built a career acting, doing stunts. And so I ended up being the stunt guy that they would call when they needed dialogue or they needed an actor. Now my career is, if it's acting that is stunts, they call me. If it's stunts that need acting, they call me. So I've got this little niche going on. And
That's great. And that happened basically overnight, right?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I think that started.
So tell me a little bit about how you got interested in acting and then doing stunts. I mean, I know probably everybody in Athens, that's first thing on their mind when they get out of high school. But
sure.
How did you get into it?
Well, my old standby is I fell into it, but I usually get booed and thrown off the set when I say that. But I actually. Growing up, had this idea that I was going to be a doctor. I was looking at a career in pre-med and getting into medicine. And so I dabbled in theater when I was a kid. My mom got me involved in a little place called the Athens Little Theater there in town. And I took that and ran with it. So when I got to college, I didn't realize, obviously, that I could make a career. So it was a fun little hobby I did until I started seeing people making a little bit of, a little check on a commercial or going out and, every day they were doing extra work and coming home with, like $100 a day. And I'm like, well, man, I can do that on the side. So I started doing that, getting more involved in the acting, and it really kind of blossomed. I've really felt a calling towards it. And so I put my focus on that, which made everybody absolutely happy, as you can see, going from pre-med studies to the crazy acting world.
Absolutely. I'm sure your mom got that immediately.
Yeah, but the first question, what are you going to fall back on? And the best answer that to this day I've ever given is my butt.
Which you do regularly, I would assume, in stunt work.
Which now you knew that's what I was going to be doing for a living, right? So I guess I'm a little psychic. I got ESPN going on. So it turns out that I had no clue I was going to get into the stunt work. I did some cheerleading in college. I did.
Now wait a minute. You did some cheerleading in college?
College, yeah.
You're a big old football player, and you became a cheerleader?
Well, and it's odd because I played football in high school, and I hurt my knee my senior year. So I'm thinking death and dreck. I'm like, well, that's the end of my football career. I ended up going to University of Texas Arlington, and they didn't have a football team, and so the closest thing I could think of was the cheerleading squad, and I got drug into it. And I realized I wasn't really cut out for it. I was 6 months and I'm like, this. I did a semester and like, nah. So I dedicated everything to acting. So it was the best career choice I ever made. Get out of cheerleading and go into acting. I still use some of those cheerleading moves. There have been shows where we've had to do stunts with girls, and I still use some of those moves to this day. It's crazy.
Oh, no, I bet that would be a pretty good training background for stunt work.
Sure. And and football too. I didn't go into this career going, man, I'm going to be a stunt guy, and a lot of people do. I honestly fell into it. I meandered into it. My acting training, I auditioned for a stunt show that needed an actor. They hired me as an actor, and I learned the stunts on the job. I went through a year of knocking everybody else out trying to learn this stuff, but eventually got to a point where I learned it, I excelled, I moved on, and it turned into a career that literally went back and forth between the acting and the stunt work.
Yeah.
Everything that I have done has come from those early days. I used to work at Six Flags over Texas. I got a summer job doing a Wild West stunt show. Hired me as the actor, kind of the face of the show, and that summer job became my career. It was crazy. The guy I worked for was a guy named Ben Rossi, who ran the resort entertainment at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and he had just started his own company, and so good old boy from East Texas, never been anywhere in the world, literally just moved to Dallas. The next 4 years of my life, I spent overseas. I lived in Taiwan for a year. I did Germany for 2 years, all these doing Wild West stunt shows, living. It was insane. And then San Francisco, I was in San Francisco for another year. So the first 4 years of my career I traveled. I'd never been anywhere. So it opened my door and opened my eyes.
Well, pretty cool. That's a long ways from Athens, Texas. So,
sure is.
We just had our first football game here of the season Friday night. And for the first time ever, the UIL is allowing us to stream it on Facebook live. So we had over 3,000 people watch the game on Facebook and or after the game,
Sure.
Blew my mind. That was in addition to what was on broadcast radio. So,
right.
And it was, of course, hot as the dickens,
Well, I mean, no one knows hot till they've gone to East Texas.
well, yeah, and especially if you have to suit up and you're on the field.
So I remember the days of two-a-days in August, lining up, sweat dripping off my nose in my three-point stance, just going, man, why did I do this to myself? But I loved it. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Love football.
Well, okay, you've been to grew up in East Texas. You've been in 10 or more movies and a number of TV shows. What's your advice? What's your life advice for maybe some other young football players out there or people listening in our audience?
Listen, my bottom line is, I do this thing that I believe that if you follow your heart, then your money will follow. My advice is, life is way too short to live a half life, So if there's something that you're passionate about, something that you love, no matter what that is, whether that be acting, whether that be science, whether that be math, make sure that that's first and center in terms of what you do moving forward in your life. If whatever you're putting out there, if it's positive energy, that's what you're going to get back. And I find, I used to, I had survival jobs. I worked as a salesman. I did security. I did all these different things. And sure, I needed to put food on the table, but my everyday life wasn't as fulfilling as it is when I started getting into the the acting stuff and really dedicating myself to, I'm going to do this. And listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular old blue collar guy, except I found something I loved, and I dedicated my life to making it happen with a work ethic and a focus, and that's what's got me here.
Hey, listen, appreciate that, and good to talk to you. I hope you'll stop by and talk to us some more here and keep us posted on your career.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Christian Stokes from Athens, Texas, originally.
Right.
Hollywood success story in the stunt world, acting world. So anyway, appreciate it, Christian.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you. You have yourself a wonderful day.
Hey, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.